Hello guys and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to do a commentary on About Mr. Enter. So let's go.
Yes, I did say that I was going to do his spoiler review, but I couldn't really find anything to talk about in that video. So I decided, why not do his later SpongeBob review that is completely worse. But before we start, I just want to bring you some backstory. I used to be a giant fan of Mr.Enter. I actually made a fan animation off of him. It's very amazing how I was so dedicated to him. But then as I got less interested in his videos and moved on to writers like Undertaker Freak and I Hate Everything, I just felt uninteresting and I just slowly started to hate him.
So because you felt less interested in his videos, you started to hate him. I mean, there's people like Bob who dislike him because he made a video called Trolls. Here's where he said trolls and cyberbullies are the same, and running that as fact. That's a much better reason why to dislike him than fallen interest.
Explain why I really don't like him. But before we start, I just want to talk about something that John really does in his videos. It's this disturbing content thing that he does. I'll just show it to you.
Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
John, you're reviewing SpongeBob, a show about a talking sponge who lives in the sea with his underwater friends. You're not reviewing a bunch of films like, you know, Eraserhead, Cannibal Holocaust, that one Salvador Dali movie that starts off with a woman's eye getting slit by a razor.
There's another way to be disturbing without gore, like creepiness, realism, and scares.
That's disturbing to begin with, so it really bothers me. Let's actually start on with the video.
Says it all, doesn't it?
Fuck yeah, it does.
Wow, did I get a lot of requests for this one? You guys really seem to hate this episode, and watching it again, I can definitely see why. Everything it does is wrong. Beyond wrong, actually. So, by popular request, let's tear Stuck in the Ringer a new one.
Oh, and before that we actually start, I actually hate this episode as much as John does, but I just want to point him out on some bullshit things he says.
Spoiler, he doesn't.
When the shower's done, SpongeBob cleans himself off with a laundry wringer.
What would I do without you, Ringer?
Use towels, perhaps? Maybe drip dry in the fucking ocean?
Then again, SpongeBob's a sponge, so that kind of makes sense.
SpongeBob gets dressed and is prepared to go to work, but slips on soap and bounces into his tub to pad out the episode's length. He steps on a rubber duck, which startles him to step on another bar of soap, which gets him stuck in the wringer. He tries to use his tongue to get himself out, but ends up breaking the handle. Hey, this kind of reminds me of real-life situations when people can't get their hands or other extremities out of nooks or machinery. They spend days calling for help that never comes, eventually forced to cut off that extremity in pure desperation. And these hacks think that a scenario like that can be used for comedy.
Then again, I think basically anything can be made into something that can be humorous.
That doesn't mean people can't take offense to that.
Especially. So the glue hardens because the writers think that crippling someone is funny. Of course, SpongeBob's only concern is getting to work, which yes, is very similar to his original characterization. Patrick does manage to help slightly by breaking the wringer off the floor.
Wait a second, if Patrick can pull SpongeBob's wringer right out of the floor, if he's strong enough to do that, why can't he just pull SpongeBob out of the wringer? Oh, then I just forgot, Patrick's brain's the size of the... Patrick's brain is microscopic. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, at this point, pat Mr. Enter on his back. That's what you're doing right now.
Ringer, he of course laughs at SpongeBob's misery. And then this happens. Alright, dumbasses. Or should I say dumbass. I think it's safe to assume that the one writer from The Splinter wrote this fascinating piece of the episode. From what I can gather, Sean Charms is like Dave Polsky if he was terrible at slapstick and really, really hated people. An important rule of slapstick is to never, ever harm the eyes, fingernails, or toenails on camera. You've also got to be very careful with teeth.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can do slapstick around the teeth.
Here's the thing about slapstick around the body. If the character's not in pain or it's not realistic, then it's okay.
I was never really disturbed by, like, violence towards the eyes in, like, animation and such, because I don't know, maybe it was because of the fact that when I first put in a PS2 game for the first time and picked up a controller, the first thing I saw was this. Yeah, imagine being 4 years old and very oversensitive, and then you see that for the first time.
It is possible to do eye-related slapstick, like say someone is trying to open a switchblade and looking really closely at it. If you want it to be funny, when the blade goes off, you've got to move the camera somewhere else as that guy screams.
It is possible to do eye-related slapstick on screen. I mean, in the Simpsons movie, when Homer was like trying to like nail the roof in, he like he like got the hammer in his eye, and I personally thought that was funny, but you may disagree with.
Here's the thing. The character cannot be in realistic pain. If a switchblade went off in the character's eye, it can't be realistic.
Then we have shenanigans that eventually ends with the cash register emptying on the floor. This, of course, gets Mr. Krabs to come into the picture.
Help! I think you've helped quite enough today.
Oh, here's another problem that John has. Shitty audio editing. I mean, sometimes in his videos, his voice just cuts out of complete nowhere, and he'll be like almost at the end of a sentence, and a scene will play. Not that you can even hear the scene, but it's just very bad editing. And his video editing is just as bad. He repeats the same clips over and over because, you know, John can't be bothered to, like, make a still. So yeah, his editing sucks ass.
What do you expect from someone using Windows Movie Maker?
Crab and bumps into the cause of all of his pain. Patrick tries to cheer SpongeBob up instead of, I don't know, taking him to a hospital. They go to an ice cream parlor where SpongeBob is unable to eat his ice cream because the ringer is apparently stuck on his esophagus. Wow, that's just great. They're implying that SpongeBob is eventually going to starve to death because of that thing. Because, you know, if you can't swallow something like ice cream, that tube is closed. Tightly. Oh, and would you look at that? Patrick eats SpongeBob's ice cream like a good friend. Next, they go to the carnival, where we're treated to some scenes where SpongeBob can't play any of the games or ride on any of the rides. He even gets a shiner in the process. Hey, writers, I don't care who the hell you're doing this to. Torturing a character is not funny.
Maybe it would be if this said character was probably the worst character on the show, but I'm gonna let John pass on this.
Agree much?
Patrick tries to stay mad at SpongeBob, but is unable to. He runs to SpongeBob's house, breaks in, and finds something that wouldn't be out of place in a horror story. I guess Derek ain't done yet.
John, there is a kind of humor out there called black humor, which uses disturbing situations in a comedic way.
But they wasn't being funny with it.
Before we go further, I just want to warn you that this is John going into full retard. I'm just gonna give you a little warning.
Isn't it great that they're trying to teach kids such valuable lessons in life? Alright, you three. What's the word I'm looking for? Dipshits? No, that word is too good for you. Assholes? That's not quite right either. Fuckers? No.
Why not just call them dipshit asshole fuckers?
I'm just gonna call you three excuses for humanity until I can find a description that properly suits your crude, idiotic, and juvenile talentless asses.
Yeah, they wrote an episode for a show that's very mediocre after the first 3 seasons. Yeah, they are excuses for humanity.
How would you feel if someone wrote bad episodes with cruel meaning to them?
To know, I'm genuinely curious.
The reality that we all live in.
Really? Because I'm completely normal.
That it actually takes an adult to write for children. What am I saying? That's not fair. Children would make better writers than you three. Hell, infants would.
Infants only really do nothing but shit and cry, so I don't...
Really? Because I'm completely normal.
Because if you lose your jobs writing this trite shit, you'll most likely never work again. Not just in television, but in any job.
I think some people might want to hire them, considering that they wrote for a giant television show.
Even if you worked on a popular show, it doesn't mean they'll hire you. If you worked on a popular show, but did badly, they won't hire you.
Just leave us all alone and go back to the fucking sledge you came from.
So that was Mr. Enter's Stuck in the Ringer review. I agree with it opinion-wise, but Mr. Enter's hardcore way of insulting the writers just...
You still didn't really disprove his points. That's the end of the video. The main problem with this video is that he doesn't really disprove Mr. Enter's points. All he does is just agrees with them and nothing else.